Milkman Man. At first glance, he looks like a parody Superman created as a joke. But when you actually look at the Milk Wars storyline and his connection to Rhettcon, this dude has boundless metafictional scaling that rivals characters like Cosmic Armor Superman. Milkman Man was created by Rhettcon, a metafictional corporation that literally treats stories as products, and it existed outside space, time, narrative, and dimensions. They don't just edit or censor within a universe. They rewrite entire continuities like they're editing TV episodes. And here's the kicker. Rhettcon built Milkman Man to be their perfect Superman, their enforcer, their face. That means all of Rhettcon's continuity warping, metafictional rewriting powers are basically channeled through him. So already we're not dealing with just another Superman clone, we're dealing with a walking embodiment of narrative control. Milkman Man knows he's inside a comic book. He doesn't just suspect it, he literally reads DC stories. He has awareness of the multiverse from a reader's perspective. This places him on the same metafictional level as characters like Cosmic Armor Superman, who operate on the story layer itself. Milkman Man has access to everything ever published in DC. He doesn't just exist in universe, he has knowledge of every continuity, every Elseworld, every timeline. This is an insanely underrated feat because it implies his perspective isn't bound by one canon or one universe. He literally stands above all versions of Superman, all events, all worlds. One of his most famous feats is rewriting the Justice League. He casually turned them into bizarre new versions of themselves, like Batman became a priest, Wonder Woman a housewife, etc. This wasn't an illusion. It wasn't brainwashing. Their roles in the story itself were rewritten. That's narrative-level manipulation, something most cosmic gods in DC don't even touch. Now there's Rhettcon, the company that made him, is terrifying. They exist beyond DC's multiverse, treating stories as commodities to be bought, sold, and rewritten. Since Milkman Man is their perfect Superman, he inherits that metafictional power. He's basically the living weapon of continuity rewriting. Rhettcon feeds on commodifying and packaging stories. Milkman Man represents that consumption, meaning his very existence embodies manipulation of all fictional reality. That's why he's sometimes scaled as boundless. His power doesn't just affect a multiverse, it operates on the concept of fiction itself. Milkman Man started as a parody, but his feats place him in the absolute top tier of DC scaling. He's not just another Superman, he's a metafictional rewrite of Superman, powered by Rhettcon's ability to alter and package continuity itself. While he doesn't have the battle showings of Cosmic Armor Superman, his conceptual power, narrative rewriting, multiversal knowledge, and metafictional awareness makes him one of the strongest and most overlooked DC characters ever created. Here's the wild part. Milkman Man actually says to Cave Carson, "I'm every Superman's bad copy." Now that might sound like he's downplaying himself, but it's actually terrifying. He's basically acknowledging that he's a meta-parody of Superman across all continuities, because we remember he could literally read any stories across all DC multiverse, meaning he embodies the concept of Superman himself, but through the lens of Rhettcon, a company that commodifies and repackages stories. So instead of being one Superman in one universe, Milkman Man is like the aggregate shadow of every Superman ever written, with metafictional awareness. That gives him a kind of conceptual existence no single Superman can match. He has the copies of versions like Superman Prime 1,000,000, Base Superman, and Cosmic Armor Superman. There's also his insane travel feat. Milkman Man literally flew from Earth all the way to Rhettcon. Now Rhettcon isn't just somewhere in space. Rhettcon exists outside the DC multiverse, on a metafictional level. Traveling there isn't about distance. It's about moving across narrative layers. That's why this is treated as an irrelevant speed feat. He didn't just blitz through time and space, he transcended them. He crossed from the in-universe narrative into the editorial layer where Rhettcon exists. That's a speed feat most characters in DC couldn't even comprehend. And then there's one of his craziest showings. Milkman Man altered the plot itself in order to defeat the Doom Patrol and the Justice League. He didn't outpunch them. He didn't out-strategize them. He literally rewrote the narrative roles of the characters to put himself in a position of victory. That's not a physical ability. That's author-level narrative rewriting. He basically hacked the story from within and tilted it in his favor. When you think about it, that's scarier than raw destructive power, because Doom Patrol and JLA are still bound to their roles in the comic. Milkman Man, he can rewrite the comic so that their roles change, and his role ensures victory. So between being the embodiment of every Superman's bad copy, flying beyond space and time into Rhettcon with immeasurable speed, and outright rewriting the plot to beat top-tier DC teams, Milkman Man isn't just a parody, he's a metafictional monster, and these feats show why he deserves to be talked about alongside characters like Cass and Mandrak. Milkman Man scales to boundless with irrelevant to narrative speed. That's why Milkman Man is the strongest version of Superman. And comment which characters should I scale for the next videos.